gets laid. Dawn's in the building, his swag so tight. Check your feelings, he's exposing all the lies. Every Thursday at 8, his voice takes the stage. The man's got soul like a record with age.
Is it Thursday night?
It is.
Damn, it's Thursday night. Oh, man. Listen, I am so excited to be here. I got to have these glasses on for a few minutes. I got sensitive eyes, and these lights in the studio throw me off a lot. Man, I thought I'd lost these glasses. Phil was like, somebody left glasses in here.
Hey.
And I'm like, those are my glasses. So, again, thank you so much, everybody. Great conversation tonight. Oh, and listen to me. I want to start this out by saying I move 100 miles an hour. Big guy, can you pass me my cup over there? I left it. It's right over there, man. Oh, that's so much better, man. Thank you so much again. The Don Miller Show, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We got some great news I'm going to announce probably by the end of the broadcast for our listeners who have been loyal to us on radio for a long time. I'm going to drop this nugget. But we got some great news for the radio audience, especially those who are listening on the I-10 corridor for probably about 250 miles from Mobile to Tallahassee. We got some great news for you guys. But again, I want to thank you so much. Subscribe and like. Tell everybody, check us out, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, The Don Miller Show, right here on The Don Miller Show on YouTube or the website, thedonmillershow.com. Just so much to get to tonight. I did a little clickbait. I learned how to do clickbait, right? So I clickbaited Jeffrey Epstein, right? And so I clickbaited Jeffrey Epstein, which I'm going to hit on. He is the perv of all pervs, but he also probably is the greatest blackmailer in the history of this great country we call America. Jeffrey Epstein was getting them, Phil. Shout out to Phil, the podcast doctor.
Hey.
Phil, shout out our buddy over there, man. That's my boy.
Kalen J. Herb Photography.
Yes, absolutely. He take great pictures. Phil, you got to put his stuff on the screen. That dude, he took some really good pictures. My old black ass made me look younger. Made me look in my 60s. Oh, so much to get to today. Shout out Amber Cuchilla Designs. Man, I'll be working this little white lady to death, Phil. But every time she come, she bring it, Phil. She absolutely bring it. Shout out to Amber. She lives over there, back up in there, around over there. Beautiful. I don't even know where she lives, but she way the hell out of here. Got a lot to get to. Just the other day, the Justice Department, headed by Mr. Patel, along with the FBI.
Dan Bongino.
Shout out to Dan Bongino. Dan probably like, damn, I should have kept my radio job.
Yeah, I was like, didn't you do the radio with him?
Dan Bongino came on right after me on the radio for years. And then I went for 4 hours and took Dan's spot. But Dan is a wonderful radio host, great podcaster too, had 8 million followers. But he took a job working for the government as the deputy director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation under President Trump. And so the other day, these agencies had a press conference, kind of, along with Pam Bondi. Many of you, if you're listening in Florida, you know that name. She was the attorney general in Florida, came out and said, nothing to see here regarding Jeffrey Epstein. Now, for years, we've heard about this dossier, this list of people that Jeffrey Epstein had, shout out P.J. Brown, had this list compiled of all of these people that were engaged in illicit-ass activity. Now, for those who don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is, Jeffrey Epstein went to jail in Florida. Well, allegedly jail. They let him go home when he wanted to go to the house. Allegedly, he had 18 months to serve, but he only did 5, and they were still letting him go home to the house, and the rest of it was on some kind of probation, which told me that based on the kind of charges he was looking at, he knew somebody way, 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 way up high. And then the thing about Jeffrey Epstein being the purveyor of young women and engaging in ridiculous-ass activity with this island off the coast of the British Virgin, U.S. Virgin Islands, where people would go to and engage in terrible activities. And now all of a sudden, after all these years of him allegedly being murdered or killed or hung himself in a jail cell at the federal prison in New York, let me explain something to you. Anyway, I ain't gonna even do that. I want to get this.
Do it.
So he allegedly hung himself in a federal prison one night when all the cameras blinked out, Phil. The cameras went off, and at that moment, Jeffrey Epstein knew this is the time I take my own life. So he took his own life, allegedly, and the rest is history. But he had a lady with him, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was his madam. And if you've seen this documentary, it is the craziest mess I've ever seen. Jeffrey Epstein, I don't care what you call it, Jeffrey Epstein was a horrible individual. And so he allegedly killed himself. The lady goes to jail, and of course, I would have rather seen or heard play-by-play of that trial than the Sean Combs trial. They gave us the Sean Combs trial till we couldn't take it anymore. But nobody gave us the Ghislaine Maxwell trial in federal court, Southern District of New York. Same courthouse, exactly same courthouse, same people, and she ended up going to jail. So now the Justice Department and the other people come out and say, nothing to see here, there's no list, and we don't know what you're talking about. Now, President Trump stood firm on the fact that he was going to expose this and release this list. Pam Bondi, in the last several months, said that she was going to release this list. How do we get to releasing a list to no list at all, Phil?
Exactly. That's what I want to know. I call conspiracy.
Well, let me just say this, and this is my opinion, this is my little basic-ass thoughts on this, and I don't want to spend much time on it, but I do want the American people to understand there is a situation, a position in this country bigger than the President of the United States. Way bigger, 10 tiers bigger than the President of the United States. And I believe that President Trump and his people actually went into this really believing, Phil, that they were going to drain the swamp. And this is going to be the initial move to show people the level of corruption to draining this swamp. And then you come before the people and say there's nothing to see here. I think this is going to hurt President Trump unlike anything else, because I could tell you, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. It's like, one thing about a Trumper, they're never going to leave President Trump. The people who are diehard are going to stand by him no matter what. Well, I'm talking to a guy yesterday who is a hardcore Trumper who was really upset, Phil, that they can come to a microphone and say nothing to see here.
Yeah.
First of all, just don't say nothing at all. You didn't have to say anything. Just act like there's nothing to talk about, but to come to the American people, the voters who had bought into this because of this drain the swamp conversation, and then you come to these same people and say there's nothing to see here. Well, why is Maxwell in jail? And why these documentaries that showcased what we saw? Footage, constant footage of him engaging in this type of behavior with young women. Why give us a list of people who had gone to this island or flown on this plane? Listen, this is my conversation. This is my theory, right? I ain't trying to rub nobody the wrong way. Shout out to Phil, who has become a collector of weaponry. I've been telling his ass to get armed, man. This is bigger than all of us. This is bigger than any office. And I believe when they got there starting to peel back the layers, Phil, they saw things that they were stunned by. And so when you go as deep as they probably went, you realize this could have a really negative effect on the entire country. Can you imagine if you had 9 or 10 U.S. senators on this list, or 9 or 10 Congress people who lead committees on this list that are currently there? Can you imagine?
Yeah, but I mean, this comment makes sense here.
Uh-huh.
Trump and the DOJ promised transparency. You know?
Okay, and they did. But I don't think, again, look at Trump's people. None of them of which were already dug in. So they get there like me, just getting a job, working for the government, and they say, hey, go dig this up. And you dig it, you pull back, and you're like, whoa. You ever ran up on something you didn't want to know?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And I believe that's what happened. I think they ran up on something with this, yay, we get ready to bust everybody out. And then they're like, oh, hell no. And to even think of firing Pam Bondi is ridiculous. Pam Bondi should keep her job. Pam Bondi was the Attorney General in the state of Florida. Now, Pam Bondi, definitely being the Attorney General in the state of Florida, knew this whole Epstein angle for real because he was based here in South Florida. His initial charges were in South Florida. But I think when they started to dig in and see all these heads of state and these prime ministers and these powerful people who not just had a name on the list, they probably saw some videos, Phil. I think this is when they just don't say nothing. I think they hurt themselves. I agree, Donald. I think this is when they hurt themselves is when they come to the microphone and tell the American people there's nothing to see here. I think this is going to be a really ugly black eye for a guy that had done some decent stuff and was moving in the right direction. I just think that this is terrible. It's terrible to tell the American people nothing to see here after somebody has already gone to jail for this. What does it say? Don, you always say books don't hurt. I recommend the read Nation Under Blackmail by Whitney Webb. That's an excellent book. Thank you so much. Put that back up because I want you guys to go read that book. Thanks, Carol. You're 100% right. And I'm telling you, there are some three-letter organizations in this country and out of this country. The organization out of this country ain't three letters, but they saw this guy as someone that they can grab after he probably was just doing it to get a leg up. And this is what happens. And so the swamp is real. Anybody who don't believe the swamp is real, but the swamp is too big to drain, unfortunately.
Donald, I got a question though.
Yeah.
So where's the line? Where's the line then?
That's it. That's a heck of a question. I can't tell you where the line is. I don't even know if there is a line. I know that the novice people that are running these organizations right now thought that they could actually do good, and they realized that this is bigger than them. And, you know, I know Dan Bongino's like, damn, I need my radio job back, you know, but the point of the matter is this is much bigger than anybody would have thought. When you do it's been 2 documentaries on this guy. But think about this, Phil. Let's just talk basic Don Miller show, basic ass conversation, right?
Okay.
Watch this, Phil. You got a friend. Say your buddy's sitting over there with you, right?
Okay, Kalen.
Big K, that's my man. He go to jail for indecent liberties with children.
Oh, no.
Underage women, right?
Okay.
Does his time, couple of years, because ain't no black man or no broke white man ever gonna get a couple of years for this, right? That's the problem. This ain't nobody without no money that already got somebody on the line gonna get the time that Epstein got for this. Epstein got 0 time based on the numbers of people that were in that indictment, right? And so Kalen gets out of jail and he rings your phone, ring, ring. Hey, Phil, what's up? It's Kalen. What do you say? Let's go to lunch. What do you say, Phil?
Wrong number, bro.
Right.
New phone, who this?
Who this? Who this, right? Now think about this. Epstein gets out of all of this, and within weeks of him getting out, he has a public lunch, and there are pictures of it. Google it, Phil, so we can put it on the screen. Pictures of Epstein having lunch with that weird-ass prince from England. Is he a prince? Andrew, who's a perv. Epstein sitting out in public having a lunch with Prince Andrew. Weird-ass prince. That's what I call him, right? He flies from England to come to New York to have lunch with Epstein. Then after that, Epstein rings up his other buddy, who has a public lunch with him. There are pictures of that, William Jefferson Clinton. Now, my position on the issue is, right? Ain't no way, if you get out of jail for that kind of nonsense, I'm definitely not going to have lunch with you. And I'm probably going to tell you what Phil said. Hey, man, I don't mean no harm. I wish you well. I'm out, right? And as the father of a daughter, hell to the no.
Hell to the no.
Hell to the no, right? But guess what the prince or the president couldn't do? They couldn't tell him no, Phil.
Because he got dirt on him. He got dirt on him.
Just basic ass hood principles. Okay? Hood principle number 114. I had a friend went to jail for killing somebody. Got out, did 18 years, got out. I wouldn't even sit around him in a private place. You know why I feel?
Why?
And I told my other buddy, Steve, I was like, Steve, man, yeah, Earl out, man, but, you know, he said it was self-defense. He did 18 years, he out. And Steve was like, man, you wrong, Don, because, man, that man did his time. Yeah, man. But this is what, and this is a true, 100% true story. So Earl gets out, and they all mad at me because I'm not trying to see Earl in public, right? Mm-hmm. Because one thing about Earl, and I told my buddy, tell Earl, if you change your life, because they had found Christ was a savior, found Christ in jail. You know, I don't know, a lot of people find Christ in the joint, right?
Yeah.
So he found Christ, he gets out, going to church every Sunday. If you change your life after that, it's incumbent upon you to change your demographic. You can't go back to the old neighborhood, right?
Nope.
So big fella's out for about 5 years, and he's sitting there with his girlfriend and 2 kids, and dude roll up on him, man, and kill him.
Damn.
And kill one of the kids.
No.
You follow me? So then everybody's like, man, you heard what happened to Earl? Yeah, I heard. I told y'all. It was look, that don't mean I don't love you. That just mean I ain't getting ready to put it all on the line for you.
Love you at a distance.
Because I had an option not to do it. But when you see people who immediately, weeks and months after this guy gets out, forced to have think about this. Jeffrey Epstein had enough money, he could tell Bill Clinton, hey, let's meet at a country club in the back room and pull the curtain. But that's not how he moved. He said, let's meet in public to the prince and let's walk in Central Park, knowing that the paparazzi was there. Put that picture up of him walking with the prince after he got out. See him and the prince just walking. The prince probably like, damn. The prince's family mad as hell at the prince still right now, right?
Yeah.
The point I make is this. This guy had something on a lot of people. And you got to understand how to control your vices. And everybody fell prey to this situation. So when they go there and start peeling back this onion, and some of the names that they probably came across were, look, Bill Gates, there's a real article. Phil, put this up on the screen. Bill Gates' wife tells Bill Gates that he's got to end his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein before the divorce, right? Did you know about that?
No.
His wife said, I ain't vibing this relationship that you got with this weirdo. And guess what? She got up out of there and got a lot of money to leave. Like, I'm out. The problem is, guys, I get it, man.
There you go.
Huh? Melinda Gates met divorce lawyers when Epstein ties was revealed. You follow me? Huh?
Damn.
That's Bill Gates. Can you imagine? And he wouldn't stop. He's like, hey, please understand. Dude, I'm not giving up my family for no dude unless it is what it is. But this is what I tell men, man. Look, one of the greatest things that ever happened to me in my life was to recognize that, you know, you got to control your man part and not let your man part control you. Mm-hmm. Because that has been the detriment of a lot of men, guys. And this guy knew what he could do, and he got close to all these rich people, and he was funded by some people, I'm sure, to get close to these people. But he had cameras. And so again, this is what happens. And, I feel bad for the people who want to make a difference at the DOJ and the FBI, that they realized that they actually couldn't do what they wanted to do. But this is why the conversation about draining a swamp, I get the concept. I believe strongly that the corruption should definitely be exposed. But it's so big now, Phil, it's bigger than any entity.
Yeah.
So you can't not. Many have lost mad respect and trust for Trump. Bad move. Hopefully it's a bigger, put that back up, man, because this is very important. There's no need to lose respect for Trump. Trump was never a politician. If you had a real politician, they would have never allowed their people to say stuff like, we're going to put this out. No other, this goes back to Barack Obama's administration. This was in Biden's administration. And nobody said we're going to release any files. Trump's people, because of their being novice and not understanding how deep this goes, were the first people to say, we're going to release the files. And now they realize they can't release the files. It's an ugly look. But this is what happens. This would definitely be a problem for national security. Thanks, Lazy. This would definitely be a problem for national security, 100%. So again, this is how this works. And unfortunately, when we engage in jump out conversation, because that's what this was. This is a jump out conversation. Man, we're going to show everybody. We're going to give all the names out. And when you think you could do it that way, I'm sorry, guys. It sounds great. But at the end of the day, it does not work that way. So this guy needs to let the lady out. Why is she still in jail? If there's nothing to see here, why the lady still in jail? Let me just say this. What they're trying to hide, I think, is, and I didn't want to spend this much time on this. What they're trying to hide, I believe, strongly, is that this guy had the ability, with money that he was funded by whoever was funding him, Phil, to infiltrate every aspect of the American elite. And he did so. But he did so with horrible intentions, or maybe not horrible, depending on what you needed from people. And there's a lot of footage probably of people who could really affect national security, as Lazy just said in his post. It's really scary that we can find ourselves in a position where one person could affect national security to this extent. But this is what happens. And I got to shout out a few people I know, a couple of friends of mine who went to Congress and saw what it was, Phil, and was like, nah, I'm out.
But
because a guy I love and respect greatly was like, man, I'm going to go here and I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to make noise and I'm going to point out all of this. And he got there and he was a congressman for 2 years. And he's like, nah, I'm out of here.
Don, do you think money changes people that way, or people already like that and then they just have more access because they got money?
I think money changes a lot of people, but I also think that there are people who get there. We all got vices, right? Let me tell you something. I got a vice like, the Don Miller Cigar of the Week is my vice right now. I'm going to hit that in a minute, right? But we all have vices. Some of our vices are pretty ridiculous. But I think that they saw who was weak, Phil, and they played on it. And they went to these people. They infiltrated their lives. You hear me? And once you get something on somebody, Phil, it's tough, Phil. You hear me?
Yeah.
It's tough, man. Once you get something on somebody, blackmail is a real thing. And I think this is how this country's been going. I think some of these agencies, blackmail and extortion, G-Up says blackmail and extortion is a big difference. Came from being a math teacher to working for a Saudi prince.
And British prince,
listen to me. Absolutely. How did that happen? And I think it started with blackmail and it ended up being extortion. Nobody could ever trace this guy's money, but how did he get so wealthy? Of course, there's a guy, Lex Wexner, that really kind of was his benefactor early on. When nobody understands that relationship. But again, listen, guys, protect yourself. Be careful of the environment you're in. Pay attention. And my grandma used to say, don't take no wooden nickels. And know your vice, man. Know your vice, guys. Listen, man. Guys, know your vice. Know what your vices are. And because people can play on that. Listen, the Don Miller Cigar of the Week is the Florida Sun-Grown 20-acre farm by Drew Estate, man. Listen to me. I was smoking this today, and I'm going to finish smoking it tonight. You can head over to coronacigar.com. Man, that is a good smoke. The price point is amazing. It's actually from the area in which we broadcast, beautiful 20-acre farm near Claremont, Florida. The owners of Corona Cigar, this is their own product. Just
so
amazing,
they
man.
make it?
Absolutely, man.
Oh, okay.
It is amazing. It's blended and handmade at La Grana Fabrica Drew Estate in Nicaragua, but it's one of my go-tos. So the 20-acre farm, head over to coronacigar.com or go to any of the Corona Cigar locations where if you're nearby in Florida, but the website's the best. Quick shipping to you, but this is what I'm smoking.
You got some breaking news from Corona.
Did you, what? Oh, whoa. Where'd you get that from?
I know magic.
Oh, look at that, man. That's what I'm smoking. Damn, where you get that?
I got magic.
That is Don Miller right there with my boy, Real Rap Kane. You see Real Rap?
I see
And
him.
Xavier, man, Corona Cigar Company, man. Thank you so much again. I'm smoking that 20-acre farm tonight. You should be smoking it. Head over to coronacigar.com, man. I'm telling you right damn now. Play that again, man. That was nice. You hit me with that.
All right, here we go.
Look at that, man. Man, look at that, boy. I look like an old school ass black guy with something to say. Man, look at that right there, boy. Thank you so much, man, Corona Cigar. Love you, Tanya and Jeff. You guys are my friends, man. So, look, I want to turn the corner real quick because I want to talk to the lady who stopped me recently, man. Phil, you got to come hang out with me, man. I've been trying to get you to hang out with me, man.
Bro, these past 3 weeks have been hell for me.
I know,
so
man. I've been praying for you, man. I'm so glad everything's good now.
Yeah.
I want to hit a couple of things. So a lady asked me about the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Didn't really want to spend a lot of time on it. Then I realized for sure, because I kind of was trying to understand a one-man RICO. Real Rap Kane and I talked about this along with me and a couple of my former federal prosecutor buddies and a couple of judges, right? I am convinced more than ever before that the Sean Diddy Combs trial was a show trial. Let me tell you what I mean by a show trial. All of the names that we had heard, Phil, in all of the civil paperwork, and even in the indictment, quite frankly, none of those people were the people that we saw in this trial. And why were they not there? We'd heard all of these names. I've got a running joke with Quetta Jane Johnson from the Johnson family of ridiculous behavior that T.D. Jakes, the week before the trial, he gave his church his child, like, I'm out, because they thought maybe he'd be up there, probably. You know what I mean? But the interesting thing is, this was a show trial. And I want you to remember this name. Everybody, I'm going to give y'all a few minutes, get a pen or a pencil, whatever you got, write this name down. Because I want y'all to remember this name and say, damn, Don Miller said that on the Don Miller Show a couple of years ago. And this name is Damian Williams. Damian Williams was the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. Damian Williams is a Harvard, Yale, Cambridge guy, a light-skinned Jamaican brother who was a U.S. attorney who went after, he started this trial, this Diddy Combs trial, but he also did the Ghislaine Maxwell Epstein trial. Sam Bankman-Fried, remember him? Sam Bankman-Fried?
Yeah, the Bitcoin guy,
The
right?
Bitcoin guy who went to had the $100 million over in the Bahamas. He also went after Bob Menendez from New Jersey, former senator from New Jersey, is getting ready to go to jail. Sheldon Silver, who was the Speaker of the New York State House, This young black guy, Damian Williams, maybe 41, 42 years old, is making a name for himself, but he wants to run for president. So remember I told you guys this. Damian Williams, Harvard, Cambridge, Yale. He's a George Soros fellow, okay, which means he got some fellowship money from the Soros people. He also was a intern, a clerk for RGB, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Interesting guy, appointed by Joe Biden. Just go back and look. It's just a really interesting conversation. No, I'm sorry. He's a Soros fellow, but he's going to announce that he's going to run for president at some point. Just remember the name. Some people do things to get attention, but I think that Puffy trial backfired on him, but he still has those other trials under his belt that he can say. So we got to be careful, guys. The groundwork is always being laid no matter where you are. But just go Google the name, Damien Williams. We're going to hear his name as a presidential candidate at some point. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be real interesting. And people do things to draw attention to themselves. But now I realize more than ever before that their trial was a show trial.
Is he going to serve any time? Is he going to serve any time?
Who knows, man? You know, I think that Mr. Combs is probably the lowest level individual you could probably find. I didn't, you know, when I watched him, and I can never forget that video of him abusing that young lady. So none of the rest of the stuff of him having random sex with grown-ass people or grown-ass people getting checks to have sex, that to me, that's the least, right? But to when I watch him abuse that young lady, and to all you fools out here who say, well, she was trying to get money, but that's skill. Come on. As a father, that's not okay. And I hope he gets some time. I would love to see that happen. But again, this is the level of weirdness that we're seeing in America now, especially coming out of that region of the country. You never know. He may be able to go home. I just believe that this is a terrible person. He's a bad guy. But the system is the system. And so for all those people who are upset and totally rubbed the wrong way by the system, it's the system and it's the only system we have. But, you know, it is what it is, Phil. What are your thoughts?
It's weird to me because I'm completely lost when it comes to this type of things, you know, because before you hear, oh, the media hates black people, blah, blah, right? And then you hear this guy gets away with stuff. But he gets found guilty for 2 other counts. Right. So I don't understand. Well, why let him be not guilty of the other counts if he did all that stuff?
Well, again, it was a one-man RICO. It's only one person, I think, if I recall correctly, that got hemmed up on a one-man RICO, and that was R. Kelly. Weinstein and all the rest of these guys, you know, it's a different situation. But I could tell you that as a father, none of the rest of us, he could have had 38 pounds of cocaine in his pocket. But when I saw him abuse that young lady, there's nothing you have to tell me about that. And I just want to go back to the name Damian Williams, and watch, you're going to hear that name soon, because I call these type of people platform pimps, right?
Platform pimps.
Who get to a certain level of engagement, and they start to use that level to create scenarios conducive to them garnering significant attention. They pimp their situation, like, you know what I mean? And so just remember, you're going to hear more about this guy. He's Harvard, Yale, and Cambridge. He definitely comes out of the Soros conversation.
Okay. And
it is what it is, man. It's just unfortunate that the level of corruption is across the board. And it's discouraging. It's discouraging to a lot of my friends who thought that this was the presidency that we would see that would pull back and peel back the onion, man. And they peeled it back as much as they could.
Does it make you embarrassed to be American sometimes?
I ain't never embarrassed to be American, homie. Okay. Okay? And anybody say they embarrassed to be an American, they can keep it moving. I ain't never embarrassed to be an American. I could tell you that I'm embarrassed for a lot of people who think that, who are good people, who are difference makers, who get to a certain point. And I had a friend of mine was doing great in the community, making a giant difference, and she decided she wanted to run for Congress. And she got to Congress, and I went to D.C. and we had lunch, and she was like, "Man, this is the worst mistake I ever made."
Oh no!
Because I can't do anything here. I can't make a difference here.
It's like when you're a class president. You can't do anything.
No. The thing is, the problem is, and this is why I tell people, the most important thing you could do is be active in your own community. By the time it gets to Capitol Hill and to Washington, D.C., it's already, And so when she left the community that she had just carved a wonderful name for herself, and I'll never forget, I go to D.C. and I was like, "Hey, let's have lunch." And she's like, "I can't have lunch today. Are you going to be here tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah." So we finally didn't even have lunch. We finally got together later the second day because she's going 100 miles an hour. And she was like, "This is the biggest mistake I've ever made, running for Congress." And because I'm nobody. I'm nobody here. And she said there's so many people here who are comfortable being nobody just for the power, the perceived power. She said when I was down on the street level, I was making a difference. I was saving schools and creating programs, and feeding families and bringing attention to a real struggle. But up here, I'm just, okay, cast your vote and go enjoy the rest of your day. And that's what it's all about, Phil.
Do you think this is why people have some distrust for the government or don't vote?
Listen to me. I'm going to just say this on the Don Miller Show. Remember, if I'm not back on the radio next week, don't hold it against me. If you trust the government, you don't know history. Right?
Say that again.
And I'm just saying, people feel that way because they've lived it and they've seen it. And they give their vote. The only currency, and I want to talk to the middle class and to poor people, poor whites and poor blacks alike, right? All that we have is our vote. No matter what else you have, there's nothing more valuable than your vote. That's the currency that makes a difference in your life. Not the house you live in or the car you drive, it's your vote. And when you give your vote and then you realize that you just gave it to somebody, we vote for people who leave our communities and go to D.C. and they don't even vote for us. They go up there and get caught up into this system and this money system, and they vote against the interests of the people that have given them all that they have. The most valuable thing that you have as an American is your vote, your family and your vote. And that's so important, man. And we give this randomly away, and people go there. Listen to me, guys. They go there and they let these entities and these interests get in their ear, and they vote against our interests. And we got to pay attention, man. There's some groups in this country, I want to shout them out, right, that actually stand for something, and they care. But they don't get attention. Put that back up, man. What is she saying, Phil?
She said Elon has everyone's info now exposed. Is he the lesser of the two evils?
Well, let me just say this, Carolyn. Thank you so much. I don't think Elon Musk should have ever been in that position. Okay, let's be clear, right? And he does have all your stuff, but he's always had your stuff. Just like Jeff Bezos got all your stuff. If you got a Prime account on Amazon or just a basic Amazon account, Jeff Bezos got your stuff. Bill Gates got all your stuff. So a lot of people got your stuff. And especially those people who with these TikToks and these Temu accounts and these Shein accounts, you don't know who got your stuff. So having your stuff ain't the issue. How you engage and how you move is more important. And we got to stick to local politics, man. It's amazing how many people I ran into a lady the other day, probably one of the most ignorant people I ever met in my damn life.
Oh, no.
Just an actual blue clown, right? And she's talking about, Donald Trump hates black people, and he's always hated black people. and he's never going to help black people. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, all right. I was like, good, okay, so what you think? She's like, we just got to make sure that we vote and get the right people in office. I'm like, okay, great. Who's your congressman? I said, who's your congressman? She's looking at me like,
What's that?
well, that ain't important. Yeah, it's absolutely important. Okay, who's your state rep? Who's your state senator? Well, why I need to know all that? Take your muck ass on. And I felt bad because I didn't say that to her, but it was deep in my spirit to tell her that. And I just kind of left, right? You out here talking about Donald Trump, and you don't even know who your congressman or your state rep is. Who's your city councilman? Who the hell is your block captain? You know what I mean? The problem is everybody's looking at D.C. and nobody's looking at their own neighborhood. And that's the challenge. Too many people, thank you, Donald, too many people in D.C. making dirty deals, man. I'm telling you, 100%. Real quick, I want to turn the corner. Thank you so much, everybody. Can y'all subscribe and like? Again, we really want you to do that. I want to shout out my friends. Look, somebody said, Don, you got some nice little jewelry. Yeah, most of my stuff ain't real. But when I get some real stuff, I'm going to get it right over at Casa Leon Jewelers. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to head right over to Casa Leon Jewelers in beautiful Lake Mary, Florida. You can go to their website. When I come up, remember that song, as soon as I get my money right? That's where I'm going. I'm going to see Yvette and Renee at Casa Leon Jewelers and get me some nice stuff. I'm almost there. I'm just saving. I'm pick up some more sponsors.
I'm gonna have to go with you because I want to get Lucia something.
Oh, you better. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think. What is that feedback I'm getting?
You said Lake Mary?
No, you can ride with me. I'll pick you up and take you over there to see my friends, man. They're really my family. And I got to tell you, put that back up. Casa Leon, man, I love y'all so much. You guys are my friends. They smoke with a brother. They smoke good with a brother. And they have a beautiful selection. And the price points range across the board. Anybody could go buy something. You ever been in a store, you be like, I can't buy nothing in here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that happened to me a few times. I go in the store, and I'm like, ain't nothing in here I can get, okay? But you walk around and you look. But you could go in there, and you could definitely buy somebody you love something. Or you can buy yourself something because the price points are amazing, and they range from basic to whatever you want. Yvette and Renee Barrios, my friends, I love y'all so much. Listen, I want to respond to a lady that asked me a question. And she's like, Don, can I ask you a question? I said, yes, ma'am. Older lady. She said, when did black people really hit the gas on becoming Democrats? And I had to think about it. And we're sitting there at the bar. Shout out to Robbie, Vineyard Lake Mary. That's where I was. I was at the bar at the Vineyard Lake Mary, sitting at the bar. And this lady is like a regular customer. I've known her for a long time. Phil, you got that? Mm-hmm. And look at that, the Vineyard Lake Mary. Oh, beautiful. My little brother, Robbie. So I'm sitting at the bar, and this lady says, Don, I've heard mixed conversations about when black people really became Democrats. And it's interesting because I read a lot, and I had the same question many, many years ago because I'd heard mixed conversations about it. But I think it happened in October of 1960. In October of 1960, Martin Luther King was in jail in Georgia. And he was getting ready to be sent to a rural penal camp, like a rural prison type situation. And at the time, Miss Coretta was pregnant. And she was in a panic, as she would be. Her husband was in jail in a very racist scenario, rural Georgia. They were going to send him to this penal camp. And we were in the midst of one of the closest presidential races of all time. It was John F. Kennedy and Richard M. Nixon. So Miss King reached out to Richard M. Nixon to have Mr. Nixon, who was the Republican, reach out to see if he could get Dr. King out of going into this penal colony. She got no response. Then she reached out to Kennedy, who was also on the ticket for president in 1960. This is October 1960, a month before the election. And it was a tight race. And Kennedy responded to her. She got a chance to talk to Kennedy, and she told President Kennedy what the situation was. President Kennedy, of course, didn't want to touch it, and he passed it on to his brother, who later became the Attorney General of the United States, as we all know, who was also assassinated, who reached out and got Dr. King out of jail. After Dr. King was released, she finally got a call back from Richard M. Nixon. Miss King goes back and she tells her father-in-law, Martin Luther King Sr., who was the pastor from 1937 to maybe 75 of the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, that Kennedy had helped her get his son out of jail. At the time, Dr. King's dad was a huge Republican, a very, very big Republican who had early on in the cycle endorsed Richard M. Nixon. At that moment, when Dr. King Sr. heard that Kennedy had helped get his son from going to this penal colony, this rural penal colony, he said at that moment that he was a Democrat. What he did feel was reached out to all of these pastors all over the country, black pastors, and he galvanized them to support his efforts in supporting Kennedy. Dr. King's dad had never supported, he was 100% Republican who had already endorsed Nixon. He pulled his endorsement back. There was a guy in the midst of all of this by the name of Lewis Martin. Lewis Martin at the time, and still, you can Google the name Lewis Martin, was known as the godfather of black politics in America. He was a national columnist, but he was based at the Chicago Defender, the biggest black newspaper in America at the time. And he was already on board with Kennedy, trying to galvanize black people. And so Kennedy ends up winning a month later by significant amount of votes, often time historically contributed to black people in the moment in which Miss Coretta called him to get her husband out of jail. Now, if you want to read something good, Phil, pull this up. The Making of the President, 1960. This book is by a guy named Teddy White. Theodore White was a great journalist in that area. The Making of the President, 1960. I think you could probably get it on Amazon. It's a book I read a long time ago. Right there. The Making of the President, 1960. It's a great read, and it talks about this moment. But to know the history of Lewis Martin, who really became so prominent in politics early on, probably one of the most prominent black people in politics early on, is just a wonderful, wonderful story for those who don't understand that there were black people really advising and making significant decisions and contributing significantly. Go read about the godfather of black politics, Lewis Martin. But that book is a good read, Phil.
Okay.
So that, I believe, at that moment, the shift was really good. But now, in the 50s, black people were kind of voting Democrat, but not overwhelmingly. But since that moment, the numbers have always leaned heavily for Democrats since that moment. But it's a good read. So I explained to her this story, and just amazing how the tide can turn just on one situation. Phil, can we do something we hadn't done in a few weeks?
What you want to do?
Can we open the phone lines?
We absolutely can.
Let's put it on the screen. Give me a holler, y'all. I ain't talked to you guys in a long time. We don't really take calls this much, but sometimes I just want to hear the voices of people who support us. Subscribe and like. Follow us on all platforms, Instagram, YouTube. we have a what's the TikTok page?
Wait, what?
We ain't got TikTok.
You got TikTok?
Yeah, man.
You doing those dances?
I ain't want to do no damn TikTok.
You not doing the dances?
No, you got some dances?
There you go.
Who was that?
You think I ain't get rid of that?
That's me.
That's on wallpaper.
That's me. Okay, yeah, we got TikTok. So we got every platform. We're trying to build this, man. It's different when you are not out here playing the game with the conversation. It's really hard to keep going, keep doing this. I see people making a lot of money on this, but they're saying what they're told to say. I'm not that guy. I'll walk away from it before I do that. So, again, the support is extremely important. Give us a holler, 352-717-4071. I just want to talk to people who have been supportive of us, man. Phil, we ain't taking calls in a minute.
Yeah, we got a caller now.
Okay, let's go to the phone lines.
Hey, who's this?
Yeah, lazy party. Call me lazy, but Martin, yeah?
Hey, Martin.
Blessing above ground. How y'all doing now?
How you doing, man?
I'm all the way out in Texas, about to come home soon to Florida.
Okay, well, good, man. What, you got something to say?
Yes, I do. I got to tell you, because he just brought up, I can hear my voice in the background.
Well, just say what you got to say real quick. We got other people. Go ahead.
Automatic. Black people have never been democratic or socialist in any way, shape, or form. I stand against MLK. Okay. It was the black soldier who bled on foreign ground and this nation, the first man to die in our nation against the revolution.
It was Crispus Attucks.
Was a black man.
Crispus Attucks.
You already know.
All right. Thank you so much,
You already know.
Thank you, man. We
Love.
appreciate it. Phil. That's your boy, Phil.
Yeah, hold on.
That's Lazy Prodigy, man. Oh, boy, man. Hey, give us a call, 352-717-4071.
Right. We got another one.
Go ahead. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is AJ, Walton County, brother.
You calling from Walton County?
Yes, sir. It's AJ from Walton
Hey, how you
County.
doing,
Can
man?
you hear me?
That's in the beautiful Panhandle, right?
I'm good. Yeah, hell yeah, man. And I heard you on Shannon's show today. I listen to you all the time, brother. Follow you all the time.
Thank you so much, man. We appreciate the support. What you got to say, AJ?
So what's the big news? What's the big news? Come on, break it down for us, man. What's the big
man,
news?
AJ want to know the big news. Well, tell all of our listeners from Mobile to Tallahassee, we're coming back, AJ.
All right, brother. I can't wait, man.
All right, we're coming back. Let
Love you,
everybody
guys.
know. Huh?
Come on, tell everybody. We're all listening and waiting, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, AJ. Thank you. Phil, let's pick up some more phone calls. The lines are blowing up. Hey, you on the Don Miller Show. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
Hey, Don Miller, this is Pat. How you been?
Pat, where you calling us from?
Hey, brother, I'm calling from the woods in Florilla, Alabama.
Florilla,
Yeah.
Alabama. Hey, baby. What's happening?
Yes, sir. Well, it's not too much. This rain. Keep me inside, with feet propped up, drinking Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
And, hey, you'd better advertise for that radio station you're going to get on here soon, aren't you?
Yeah, it's coming soon, Pat. We're going to be from Mobile all the way to close to Tallahassee. 240 miles out of 10.
All righty, that's cool, brother.
Well,
That's
tell
cool.
everybody,
Good to hear you.
tell everybody I'm coming back.
Oh, all right, brother. I'll do my part.
Hey,
Yeah.
Pat, when I come up there, you got to take me fishing, man.
I'll do it.
All right,
Yes,
thank you, sir.
buddy. I'll
Appreciate
do
you.
it.
Appreciate you. Phil,
They miss you, man.
man,
They
it's
miss you,
just,
man.
it's good conversation, man. I just believe, that good conversation, man, and talking to people.
You're on Shannon today?
Yeah, I did a pop in on my friend, and but I feel real good about the direction. I'm not going to give this podcast up.
You've been trying to quit this show for 3 years.
I didn't want to do podcasts.
You've been trying to quit since we first met.
I'm a radio talk show guy, okay? Didn't want to do podcasts, and you guys forced me into this. And I got to tell you, man, again, I enjoy it. So subscribe and like, tell your friends. Please tell your friends. All platforms, Don Miller Show. We need subscribers at the YouTube channel. take another call, 352-717-4071 before we get out of here. If you're going to call us, give us a quick call. Phil, listen to me, man. I want to shout out Corona Cigar and that 20-acre farm I was smoking. It is a great stick. You got to go check it out. Go to the website, coronacigar.com. That's what I'm smoking. I'm going to smoke that tonight. Absolutely smoke that tonight. Can you play that video one more time, man?
Bam.
Man, I ain't know, man. Look at me, man. That's, man, Real Rap Kane. Head over to Real Rap Kane on all platforms. Jay Kane, you've heard his show before, Phil, of course. You did his show.
Yeah.
And that's my man, X. And we had a good time, man. But coronacigar.com, man, it's got so much, everything for everybody, man. The price range is for everybody. It ain't like you got to have a bunch of money to go get a good cigar and just sit and chill. Or some wonderful locations if you're in Florida. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining the show. I'll be back here next Thursday. A shout out to Real Rap Kane again. Head over to realrapkane.com. He's got a bunch of stuff going on over there. Shout out to Lazy Prodigy. Put some of our people who said something to us, I feel, while we ride out of here.
Prodigy said he was coming back. Obviously, he said share the live.
Yeah, share the live, yeah.
He's coming back to Florida. It looks like R2 Detour is trying to hit on Amber.
Uh-huh.
He said
R2D2's hitting on Amber.
sell a kidney and a lung just so they can buy her something from Casa Leon.
Wow. That's funny.
Slavic was talking about earlier.
Another white Karen.
The lady you were talking to.
Mm-hmm.
And then people just, smile emojis.
Okay,
and
do me a
yes.
favor, though, for real. Again, we appreciate all the support. Somebody tried to holler at Young Amber, okay? Young Amber, that's because Young Amber got that picture up, Phil.
I know.
And they like, man, look at the blonde right there. That's the blonde, Young Amber. Again, hey, I'm just excited about the support that we're getting here, man. Thank you so much, everyone. Listen, if you got something you think that might be good for us to talk about, drop us an inbox, don@thedonmillershow.com, or just inbox us on any platform. Again, thank you so much, everybody. Shout out to my friend Tanya and Jeff at Corona Cigar. Shout out to my friend, the Barrios family over at Casa Leon. Thank you, little white lady, Amber Cuchilla Design. Thank you, Phil. Kate, what's up, boy? Thank you over there, man. Listen, I don't know where y'all going. I'm getting ready to go to smoke this 20-acre farm. Enjoy the rest of my night. Might chase it with some monkey shoulder. Bye-bye, everybody.
Dogs in the building, his swag so tight. Check your feelings, he's turning wrongs to right. Every Thursday at 8, his voice takes the stage.